Good morning. It's a brand new day in retail land. I'm just opening up my store. I'm getting ready for the day's trading, waiting for customers to rush through the door, fill their arms or baskets with goods and hand cash to me over the counter. So let's have a look at how we'd record those point of sale transactions. Getting there navigation wise through the menu, we'd start off in point of sale, go to transactions, and of course we'd go to the Visage point of sale module. On entry though, the system will present us with the unpleasant fact that we haven't opened our till yet. Silly me. First thing we do of the morning is actually open the till. Until we actually open the till and tell the system how much money we've put in as float to balance at the end of the day, you can't actually go and make any sales. Pretty simple. You'll notice you asked for the date that you want the transactions to be dated, which will default to today. But if you're working in a backlog situation, computer lines have been down, weren't able to process sales, whatever the case, or maybe you want to even do some future dated sales through point of sale, you can simply open a till, put any date you like in, providing of course it's not into a closed period and all of those other usual checks, and the float amount, which is the amount that you're starting off with in terms of cash to get you by for the day. So I might be starting off with $150 worth of cash. You'll see I have a save exit button here. When I click that, docket printer would spring to life, give me a little chit that I would put in the drawer to tell me that I've got $150 worth of float, but of course probably unnecessary, as I'd imagine you have exactly the same float amount every day. And then I would now go into my Visage point of sale screen. And for a workstation, a till, a register that's stuck on a counter somewhere, chances are that this is where the screen is going to be pretty well for the entire day. This becomes the main driving engine room for most of the things that I'd like to do in that point of sale environment. You'll see up in the top right here, it's telling me I'm on till 8. Remember, of course, that there could be multiple tills or multiple workstations, all configured to use exactly the same till. The date that I am open for. Also the default account, it's assuming it was cash. Remember, we set that up when we established the till in the first place. And it's asking me who the salesman is that's making the sale. Here it typically be a case of entering your initials. Some places have a little barcode sheet with their people, so they hit that with a barcode reader. Because I would normally assume that your point of sale register may have a barcode reader attached to it, either physically with a cord or a Bluetooth scanner or something similar, to make your processing easier. You'll also probably have noticed that the screen seems a little bit larger now than it has in some of the other videos, and that's because the point of sale system has been optimized size-wise to use a large format screen and to be used with touch screens as well. So you see you have nice buttons. If I was to use the touchscreen functionality here, you wouldn't see my finger coming across, so I will just use the mouse as I'm moving around. But just be aware that if you want to install touchscreens, you can, and the environment's been optimized to use that. So in terms of making a sale, you'll see at the moment it is assuming that I'm making a sale, and it's also assuming, once more, that I'm going to be using my cash account. And let's do a normal sale, so to speak, to a cash account. First thing I'd put in is my salesman code. Once more, zap with a scanner or whatever. The account number. Is this a cash customer, or is it someone who is actually a regular customer? For the time being, I'm going to assume it's my cash customer. Thank you very much, sir. Could I have your postcode, please? Now, once more, this is just for analysis purpose, although it has been set up as a mandatory field, and it's worthwhile putting in, because once more, you want and need to know, I believe, as a minimum, even for your cash sale customers, whereabouts geographically you're drawing people into the store. And obviously, if, as we'll see later, if this was a real account customer, we'd get the postcode coming up as well. So if we hit enter here, we're then taken across to this thing called a scan ID. Now this is really a barcode on a product. Could be a product number, but hopefully a lot of your product actually just has a barcode on it, and we'd hit that with the scanner, and that's it. So just like a normal checkout, and only here I'm typing because I don't really have a barcode scanner attached, so I'd scan my first product. It assumes that I only have one of these that I'm selling. It's also come up with my little warning message. Would I like fries with that? Are there other potential add-on sales items? This was set up on the product itself, remember, so the operator is being alerted to those potential opportunities. And then I'd scan my next product in. There's no sales alerts or warnings or whatever there, and so forth. I might have one of those in my trusty little hand as well, and here I've got another sales message coming up. So I've just gone scan, scan, scan. A nice little sale of $7,000 odd. Now the person would like to physically pay for their items. So to pay, using my touchscreen or using my mouse, I'd simply hit the payments area. The system will go and check to see if there are any special deals in place. You may recall when we set up our point of sale system, we had some very extensive pricing capabilities there and promotional capabilities for bundling product and so forth. So it's gone and checked those sorts of things to apply any deals that might have been there. How would you like to pay? Remember once more, these buttons, you control whereabouts they are, what they actually mean. And also remember, when you set your till up, you may have had an integrated FPOS machine, in which case if you hit something like FPOS, it's going to go out and look at getting the transact or the amount details and so forth from that. If we're doing it manually, this guy may have been walking around with a great deal of cash in his back pocket, or maybe it's a split tender. Maybe he says, yeah, look, I'd like to pay with my Visa card. Your payment reference, if, as I said, if this was integrated FPOS, this would get filled in automatically from your FPOS machine. If you're doing it manually through an FPOS machine, hopefully you're not having to resort to a little click-clack machine, but of course you could. Maybe the guy says, look, that card, I only want to put $2,000 on it, so we'll just adjust the amount because he doesn't want to go over his limit. Payment reference, if you have some form of reference that's coming back through a non-online integrated FPOS machine, you'd typically put your gateway transaction or whatever against that. He then may have also been giving you an FPOS type amount. Once more, it's assuming, because I'm using cards at this point, that whatever amount is outstanding is the amount that he's actually going to put on the card. It doesn't have to be, though. I might have got a different transaction reference because this particular customer is playing with his cards, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. In terms of balancing things, I have seen people go up to about 7 different cards, which is always a worry if they then want to put the last bit on their account. But he may also be a tradesman of some sort, walking around with a stack of cash, which we're happy to relieve from him. And you'll see as each of these amounts has been going in, the amount of change we have to give him has been flicking up down in the bottom. You'll also see that that is red as a nice big warning that, hey, you can't walk away yet, you haven't paid enough money. So he might have handed over. Because this is cash, he may not be paying the full amount we need to physically sit there and count it out. And he may have given us $2,400. We get a green light now. We're getting the fact that we've got to give him $18 change. He walks out with a whole lot thinner wallet, and we save. And when we hit the save, our docket will get produced at this point in time. We get a warning up on the screen that we're supposed to give him $18 cash before he walks away, and we're back ready to make our next sale. That's a simple sales transaction, very nice and easy, and something that I hope you make lots of. If we look at the other possibilities in terms of transactions, if I just hit the sale button, which is exactly the same as hitting this transaction button, it could be that this same customer now wants to return something. So to do a return, the process is pretty well identical. We'd nominate who I am, what the account is, the postcode once more for the thing coming back. Now, depending on your company policy, I'm assuming you probably need to get a docket or something similar from him, in which case you may record your original sales docket number in there. You don't have to, but whatever your company policy is, obviously you need to and should adhere to. So we'll just get that one thing coming back. And because this is a return scenario, we also need to nominate how we're giving him the money back. Is it going back onto one of his cards? And in this case, we might just say that it's going back out as cash, and we'll give him his $132 back. You got to love Skype. And that's it. End of transaction. Thank you very much. Person walks out the door. And once more, we get the fact that this is a refund. Next scenario. Someone comes back, wants to exchange an item. It's the wrong size. He actually wants to bring some items back, but he's going to be returning others. How would we cater for that? Same sort of deal. I can do this as either a sale or return, and which one sort of depends on, is he bringing back too much or not enough? And you may not know that at the moment, whether you're going to have to pay him money at the end, or whether he's going to have to pay you money. But let's just assume it's a sale, and it's not going to be a straight swap, but there's going to be some money change hands one way or the other. Once more, salesman, the account number, my postcode once more as a reference for what's going on. And he may have bought back one of these SF3 products. Once more, I would scan that. Hopefully the barcode is still attached. May not necessarily be. And in terms of the sales quantity, rather than being one that is actually being sold, we want to change this to be a -1. So it's one that is actually bringing back. Now I should point out that just like as with invoicing, if you've looked at the invoicing videos, the pricing here is fully automated. You cannot change the price unless you've got a price override reason there, which is once more recording why you are reducing the price at the point of sale. And I'm not worrying about price changes at the moment. We'll have a look at those later on. So let's say that he's bought back one of these SF3s. He's actually going to buy some of these SF2s. The assumption once more is that he is having a sales quantity of 1, so I would go, if he had 3 of these, I'd just go zap, 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 and I would get 3 lines actually coming out. But you can also, if someone is buying a multiple of a product, you can just put in that multiple as well, right? Choice. Don't mind which way you do it. It's whatever's convenient, and once more you may have a company policy and rule that you should adhere to. But he may actually be buying 6 of those, and you'll see now as we've done these sums, we now actually have a sale value of 200. When we were just down at a quantity of 1 here, this was a big negative number. We were actually going to have to pay him. We've now gone back to the situation where he's paying us. Now, it doesn't really matter a great deal, really, whether this was done as a sale or a return. Either way, if you end up having to pay the customer money or put it back on his credit card or possibly put it back on his account, we'll look at a real account sale in a moment, then, the system will tell you and guide you. But at this stage, we actually have an amount of money that he owes us. We'll now actually go and record our payment. We're not really going to be giving him that much change. So what we'll do is we'll actually say that we're giving him back cash money, which we'll click here, and we're not getting money back from him. He's giving money to us. He's paying $200 worth of cash. once more a red highlight there in terms of the changes, giving me that visual cue that we've actually need to get money from him in terms of finalising this sale. So this time there's no change, nothing to worry about. And of course, if he now goes browsing and so forth again and wants to do some more stuff, he might have picked up another one of these. That's okay. I can just flick back to my product screen, adjust products. I might go and sell him something else as well, because he's come back with that in his arms. When I go back to my payment screen now, we don't quite have enough physical money from him. Once more, there is a slight miscalc there in terms of the amount that's being paid. But I'm now actually going to pay him with my Visa. I'm going to get my payment reference number in, which would typically be a number, although some of them are coming out as alphabetic now. And that's the net value that we need to get from our product screen here. So now everything is fully paid. There's no change to worry about. In terms of doing a sale or a refund situation, I can do either. It's just a case of putting a plus or minus figure in, finalise my sale with the sale button, docket comes out, docket number is allocated, and away I go. Now let's look at the same sort of scenario, but rather than selling to Mr. Cash, walking off the street customer, let's sell to one of our good account customers. And I emphasise the word good. And I'll show you this two ways, so to speak. If I have a good customer, such as myself, postcode, as I said originally, is filled in automatically here. It's derived from the postcode field on the customer itself. We make our sale, and we'll just sell the one of those. Once more, we're still getting the same promotional messages and so forth that we had previously. Now, when I come across to the payment screen in this case, you'll see that we have an additional button in place, and that's an account button. So, dear Mr. Customer that I know dearly and have dealt with for many years, actually has a choice as to how he'd like to deal with this particular thing. If he wants, he can put all or some of this particular transaction onto his account, or I'm more than happy to take the money from him straight away. So let's do things the easy way, so to speak. Let's say that yes, he'd like to put that on his account. Simply hit the account button. We have an option to cancel the account sale. We have to give him no change here at all. The fact that we've said it's going onto his account, that's going to happen. If he says, oh no, look, I'll pay cash at the moment, we can just hit the cancel sale and go fix it up. But if he says, as a customer is apt to do, could you just put that on the account please, hit the account button, hit save, and we're done. Now I'll contrast that with the scenario where I'll get exactly the same customer coming up. I'll just go to my maintenance screen though. And by the way, I should point out, I have a couple of things I can do, or a couple of ways of accessing customers from this screen. I can use my traditional Visage method of just right-clicking and going to maintenance. I also have a navigation button over here that says Maintain Customer as well. So they're both functioning in exactly the same way. And the field I want to get into here is on my Accounts field, and in particular, the account status. Now, the account status, you'll recall, has a number of flags associated with it that say whether we're allowed to do invoices and so forth. And what I would like to do now is I'm going to flag myself as a bad debtor. Honest, it wasn't me. Actually, I didn't need to hit save there. So I'm just going to flag myself now as a bad debtor rather than a debtor in good standing. Remember, bad said no, you're not allowed to do any invoices to this person. So I walk in, I say, look, I'd like some things, I'd like some of those RF type things, makes a sale, gives me the opportunity for the add-on sell. When we come in to make our payment, however, gosh, there is no payment button. Because this debtor is outside of the payment terms somewhat, or for a reason. Someone has set a status against the customer to say, no, we're not giving you any credit, we're not taking any more invoices from you. Then on my payment screen, the opportunity to pay via an account payment, to actually charge something up to my account, is removed. So the point of sale system is obviously policing those policies that we have in place in terms of credit management and so forth. So I'll just get out of that for a moment, and I might just go and fix myself up because I'm not really that bad. So I'll just override that. I go into accounts once more, and in my account status drop down, I will set myself up as good. And once more, in terms of these drop downs, you can just sort of use the first letter or the first couple of letters to navigate to something. So all I did then was type in G. If I put in B, it will go to bad and so forth. If you happen to know what those codes or words are, because it actually works on the words that are displayed here rather than the underlying codes, which of course is why it's always a good idea to have the codes and the corresponding words to be roughly the same. So I've now been approved for credit again, called the credit controller or whatever, and all is well in the world. If we have a look at some of the other transactions, some of the other things you can do through this point of sale system as well, you'll see one of the other things we can do is to actually do a quote, which I might do at the moment. So in terms of a quote, someone might have walked in off the street. They're not a normal customer, or they may be a normal customer, it doesn't really matter. But someone has walked in off the street and said, look, I need to get a quote for some things. And although, as we know, you could do a quote through the order entry system, it's also possible to do a quote through the point of sale system as well, by just nominating that I'm doing a quote. Nominate my salesperson again, put in my account details. Now remember, this is a let's assume that this is a cash sale quote, and I do have to put my postcode in. But let's also put in, rather than just leaving it as cash sale, because this person is going to be calling back later on and wanting this quote potentially, so I'll put in my name and let's say a phone number as well. Just something to identify the thing so that these details will actually print out on the quote. And don't forget, all of the dockets that are being produced will come out as the right docket as far as you're concerned as well. When I made that account sale before, the guy would have got a physical invoice. When I'm doing a cash sale, or a cash or credit card or whatever it happens to be, I'll typically get a docket coming out of a little point of sale printer, but that doesn't have to be the case. I'm going to say you can produce standard A4 type point of sale dockets for people as well. All of those forms would have been customized for you. But if I'm just going to do the guy a quote, and I need to be competitive in this case, so I'm actually going to override my price. So I come to my price reason. I'm just going to do a quote override here, and I will put in the fact that I'm going to sell it to this man at $110. Now you'll notice that it didn't ask me for a password in this case, and you will recall that with these quotes, or the override reasons, because I'm a master user, I can actually right click and go to maintain and see what these are. But if I wasn't allowed to get to this function because of my security profile, I wouldn't get in. But that particular override reason doesn't have a password associated with it. Where if I was doing another price override, let's say I think managers, is there good mate password or something similar, I might set up a password here of, I typed in GM just for those. The important thing here is that I've got a password in. So if I happen to use a price override reason of good mate, and if I want to change or do any pricing, or if I actually want to use that price override reason, because all I've tried to do at this stage is move off the field, I have to put the password in to be able to use that price override reason. So it's a way of authorizing. Am I actually authorized to use these price overrides? And the price overrides, you may recall, have all sorts of rules associated with them in terms of maximum discounts, minimum margins, whatever your company policies are that you want to empower people using the point of sale system to be able to give discounts. If you don't get the right password, you don't get to change the price, and you'll see the prices reverted. If I put my price override reason in, and I'm just going to hit enter or tab here, those two are interchangeable. I have to enter my password. If I put my password in, then I can go and change the price. If I don't have a price override reason in, the price will revert, and if I try and either put a set price in or a discount, it won't allow me to do it. So I'll just use my good mate discount, put in my secret password, and it should be kept secret, and once more I'll sell it. I've had time to think about it, and he's actually told me, because he's a good mate, he can get it for $102 down the street, so I'll actually sell it to him for $100. And that you'll obviously notice the extension is different, so this guy's been set up as an X tax, or this product has been set up as an X tax price. Whether it's tax X or tax X will obviously depend on how you set your products and so forth up, and that's a whole other story. But in terms of a quote, you'll notice there isn't a payment screen or a payment option associated with this, because I'm going to say we'd like to get the money from the person at some stage, but the reality is at this stage it is just a quote. So if we click save, a quote form will physically get generated, and we would give that to the guy. He will go away, hopefully get it authorized, and arrive back at our door, happy and smiling at some stage in the future, ready to buy those goods. And of course, when he does, we'd come into our transaction selection area, and now we'd like to sell a quote. The quotes typically will come out with a barcode on them, so it's nice and easy to simply scan. And in this case, we have our original product up with our special pricing and so forth already in place. That's important from the perspective that the person who ends up making the sale may not be the person that knew the magic password and so forth in the first place. The reality is that, if you will, the special pricing was authorized as part of the original quote process, and now it's authorized automatically when we come into physically selling it. This is sort of a simplistic example here, because there was only one product on it, but you can imagine the scenario if you had someone coming in who was actually buying 10, 20, 30 products. The quote itself would be quite large, and although you could re-enter it again, much easier, much nicer to physically just call the quote up and go sell it. And making the payment and so forth now is exactly the same as it normally would be. He might have paid with Visa, full amount, save, and what's this? The postcode wasn't set. Gosh, once more you'll notice that because these fields don't have the entries in, the system is always checking to make sure that the vital stuff, which probably should have been a postcode like that, is physically entered. Docket is produced at this stage, and away we go. Something I need to show you though, if we have a look at the transaction screens at the moment, it's rather sparse in terms of what you can do, and that's driven in part because of what the account is at the moment. These are the transactions we can normally do for cash type customers, or customers whose accounts are not in good standing and so forth. If I change myself back to being RF, I get my little warning that site analysis is difficult, but with someone who has an account in good standing, I now have a couple of additional items I can do. I can have my account customer come in, and he actually wants to pay his account, which I will happily do. So I've walked in, I want to pay my account payment, how would I like to pay? and here the buttons once more have adjusted to only show those amounts that, or those tender types that we said we were willing to accept as account payment methods. So if you don't allow Visa, for example, you'll notice the Visa button is gone. And really, I think it's crazy, though some people do it, to actually give someone a credit account. They give them credit for 30 days or maybe 55 or whatever when they stretch it out, and then let them pay with a credit card. And no, you're then paying a percentage out. But I suppose that is obviously a business decision that you get to make, because it's obviously better to have some money rather than none. Because this is an account payment, the system will tell me what this man's current account balance is, and it asks how much do I want to pay. And he might have walked in with a cheque in his hand for $5,000, so we'd record the fact that it's $5,000 that he's paying. We'd click our button here to say that it was actually a cheque. Whoops, only the one cheque. And the cheque was for $5,000. You see, we had red because we don't really want to give him money back just because he's giving us a cheque. You probably have a policy that says we don't cash cheques. Maybe you do. And if you do, that's fine. I'm going to say you can come in, put the amount in for the cheque, and pay the person out cash, and you can do those types of things. But here, what we're doing is just recording the fact that the guy has paid in his account, save it. I need to actually record once more who it was that physically took the money from him, and he'll now get a docket produced telling him that he's paid $5,000. Now, of course, from an account perspective, that won't be applied to any invoices or anything similar. It's just a gross amount, so that would be a payment that would need to be allocated to his account. He may have given us a piece of paper, he might have walked in with a remittance advice or a statement and ticked off the items that we've got. That, if there was any direction given by them, needs to find its way up to the accounts people, so they'll be able to physically tick it off the appropriate invoices and so forth. Now remember also that the payment, the account payment, won't be against his account, recorded against his account properly, until these point of sale transactions are posted at the end of the day. The other thing, or the other types of transactions we can do for a real live account customer in good standing, as well as being able to create a quote, we can also create an order through the point of sale system. Similar to the quote process, similar to the sales process, they're all using exactly the same screen. The difference, of course, is that the person is not going to be taking it away at this stage. Historically, you might have been in an environment where you were actually allowing people to have laybys and so forth. Laybys have certain implications in terms of tax. You should seek the advice of your financial advisor in terms of that. Rather than supporting laybys, where you may need to recognise the sale as soon as the layby is made, we have the notion of an order, and there we don't actually need to worry about paying the GST until the order is ultimately processed, which we wouldn't be doing until the order was paid for. So we can record multiple items on the order, the same as if it was an ordinary transaction, a sale transaction and so forth, and the order will once more potentially require us to make a deposit on these items. Now this amount here, you'll recall that when we established the parameters, we nominated what your rules were for minimum amounts that needed to be paid as deposits on orders, because these could be special buy-in items or something similar. So that amount needs to be at least $133. The gentleman might have given us $150, and it may have all been in cash. And would simply record that fact, and away we go when the transaction is complete. Hit save, and we will now get an order docket coming out of the system. That would be given to the customer. It's going to tell him what he's had on order and the fact that he's actually paid $150 deposit on his order. Time passes. He comes back in. Because we're typically only going to order things for customers in good standing, although you may do it for a walking off the street person as well, in which case I would suggest that you go and create an account for them, because if they've come to you, they want to order stuff from you once, they will probably want to do so again. You may give them a very low credit limit, but you at least then are capturing one of the most important pieces of information you can and should capture from point of sale, and that is the name and address of someone who will buy your product. This is the way that you build up your mailing list, be they electronic mail or be they physical mail, of people who have qualified themselves as being interested in the things that you actually provide, and that is gold. We can come and process the order. We'd need to nominate what our order number is. The gentleman will give us our little number, and we can do a number of things when we're processing the order. We can make another payment on it. In terms of a traditional lay-by, we can keep on going and going and going until the full amount is done. We can attempt to deliver the order. We won't be able to do that until the full balance is paid, or we can cancel it. The person might say, look, I don't want to continue with that, I'd like to cancel my order at this point in time. But in our case, we'll just make a payment. The current balance on this order, possibly use the term interchangeably with lay-by, is $518.80, and they might have come in and they're paying the princely sum of $118.80, which they're going to pay with a Visa card. Once more, your policy as to whether you would accept that or not. If you were integrated with a FPOS machine, you'd be swiping the card and getting the authorization and gateway reference and so forth. If you're doing it manually, you can record it. And we save that, and once more I need to record the fact, always, you'd think I'd learn that I always need to record the fact of who has actually done this particular transaction. Once more, we'd produce a piece of paper to give to the customer, which is going to typically have updated balance details, show them once more all of the items that they had ordered, and away we go. Time passes. I walk back once more. I'm now ready to pick up my goods. I come in and say I'd like to process an order. I once more dutifully hand across my order number or lay-by reference, and I'd now like to have everything delivered, please. Deliver, of course, could be a misnomer, because it may actually be that I'm taking it, picking it up myself, which is typically going to be the case, and I might be paying that final balance off with Visa. You'll notice the amount that I had to pay was already filled in for me, and if I attempt to complete this delivery transaction, with anything less than the full amount, well, I'm actually trying to type the amount paid here, and it simply won't let me do it. The amount paid can't be changed, because we've said we want to take the stuff. This is how much is outstanding. No ifs, buts, or maybes. That's the amount I physically have to collect, which is a good thing. And payment reference once more, potentially. Save it, and now I keep forgetting to record myself as a salesman, but never mind. We now get another piece of paper out, which is an order delivery docket, and that once more is now going to be something, if you're working in a situation of a pickup area, that delivery docket would then be taken around to a bulk pickup area where the person can give that to storeman to go and pick their order up or whatever, or it may be a counter. The mechanics here depends a lot on what your actual business is and how it operates. Now, in a nutshell, there are other things that you can do. Someone comes to you and says, I need to get a copy of a docket, or Another possibility is your printer jams for some reason. We've printed the docket out and you need to get a copy of a docket that you've done today. Customer is waiting there, he'd like the copy. We can come to our option to reprint a docket. And the question is, when would we like to reprint a docket from? Is it a docket that we've done today? Is it an historical docket? Or do we want to go and actually just look up a historical transaction? It's actually a docket I did today. My drop down in terms of tills, and you may recall mine was Shane's till number 8. And in terms of our lookup here, I nominate my till. I could nominate here a transaction type, so it could be a sale. I could nominate or a order delivery or whatever, or I can leave those blank. A customer type. But if it's really just a case of I want to have a look at today's till transactions, nominate the till, click search. System will show me all the transactions that have gone through today. And it was that account payment that the person had originally that I'd like to get a copy of. So if I click on this, it tells me it was an account payment, and the detail of how much was paid was over here. That was my $5,000 check, because he needs to take it back to his boss. Hit the print, and you'll get a PDF version of this up on the screen just to make sure it really is what you want. So it's a total payment of $5,000, that's correct. And from here, as this is a PDF, you could simply click the button and send it out to a physical printer, or if you wanted to, it could be emailed to his work or something similar. So you have that option of being able to recall dockets from today for any till. You can also call up details of any historical point of sale transactions. You can nominate ranges of dates, part of a docket number, types of transactions, customer codes, or if you simply, customer turns up and they know their docket number but they just need a copy of it, you can also just put in the till number, the docket, and the date, and you'll actually recognise this screen as the same one that we used when we physically did the reprint, where it came up with the PDF copy of the docket for us. Other things that we can do from this main point of sale screen as well are a voucher lookup. We haven't looked at vouchers, but these are gift vouchers. The point of sale system has a fully integrated gift voucher system, or they could also be vouchers that you sell. Remember, over on our parameters, when we first set those up, we nominated codes for gift vouchers that we can physically sell, and that are recognized as gift vouchers, and so we can come and call up details of a gift voucher, get information about when it was sold, if it's a residual value gift voucher, what the current value is, where the money has been spent historically, and so forth. But all in all, as I said at the outset, for people involved in point of sale, or more precisely, I suppose, devices or workstations that are on your front line or front counter, so to speak, the point of sale main screen here is pretty well your switchboard on a daily basis. Once someone actually opens the till, they can stay here. They can, quickly use once more the standard facilities of Visage if someone wants to know what their current account balance is. You may recall when we did an account payment, we could see that. We can also just right click and do an inquiry from here, put the customer's code in. We can see exactly what his current balance is, what the current transactions and so forth are. So that all of the things that you're likely to want to do, one screen, and in a nutshell, that's point of sale through Visage. Well, not quite. At some point in time, probably around 5 o'clock or possibly later if it's late night trading, you would probably want to close your till. You can go and do a till read at any point in time you like during the day. Just nominate where you'd like that report to go to, and I'm just going to do it on screen. And this is the current position in terms of money that I'd expect to see for the till, but at the close of day we would typically close our till. Doesn't necessarily need to be close of day actually, it could also be close of shift. or whenever you're doing a till draw clearance. But it's basically just whenever you want to rule off a set of transactions. The system is aware of tills that are in this current entity, my Newcastle entity, that are actually open, so it assumes that you're going to want to close all of the tills that are currently open. This is designed once more if you have a multi-till or multi-register environment. The manager would have access to this and they could close all the tills at once. At the moment I have 2 tills open, so it assumes I want to close them both. If this is just a change of shift or a draw clearance type thing, I don't want to involve this other till, because you'll recall I was till 8, Shane's till, so I'll just close. I only want to close the till that I'm physically on. I don't want to interfere with other people's business, so I'll just close the till. It will give me a clearance report once more of our initial float that's gone in, and what I would expect to get out of the thing at the moment in terms of payments and various tender types. And once more, this till summary is a document that can be customized to give you the information in the format that you would like it to be in. The edit list, non-destructive type thing, the usual things in Visage, just lets you show all the transactions that are physically there. But apart from that, if we post our transactions at the end of the day, and if we just continue from this, this will go and generate our journal, update our system for us, and now it's time to actually walk out the door, or at least end this video. Thanks for watching.